Very happy to welcome Professor Emerita Helmi Vent, who is also the director of LIA, the Lab Inter Arts. First of all, let me start by saying that your presentation was mesmerizing and very entertaining for all of us. What is your take on cultural diplomacy, and what do you believe cultural diplomacy is for you?
Well, I consider myself as cultural worker through arts. I would not consider myself as a cultural worker in the field of diplomacy. I think it is an excellent thing that exists. I would not choose the term, because that's for me a special field, perhaps a little bit occupied. Well, these are my experiences, and I got to know a lot of representatives, of diplomats, of attachés in the world, and well, I would prefer to speak about, I would like to work with human beings in cultural fields. I would summarize that as practical and theoretical studies in humanities. I would not need the field of diplomacy so far. Well, it perhaps would take an intensive time to discuss that.
May I just pick up on that? In your presentation, you mentioned an exchange of repertoire and that we need more connection between human beings and just people. Do you think that diplomacy is lacking that? Do you think we're lacking a connection between people and between cultures?
Well, of course, it depends. I cannot speak about all the fields of diplomacy. My experiences are that it is very often spoken and written about cultural work, and a lot of attempts to initiate cultural projects, a lot of very good concepts, really excellent, but the doing is another thing. Usually the field of diplomacy or the representatives in the field of diplomacy are not the doers. Well, that is very Western. The segregation. I learned somehow to integrate these, for me, not divided fields of being, that is, doing and thinking and reflecting. And I don't want to divide it, and I don't want to divide it concerning the people with whom I work.
Okay. In your presentation, what was most impressive was how you managed in your travels and bringing your students with you to really start, as you say, from the bottom, and from that bottom to create something that was not prepared, your no concept theory. How do you plan? I understand that you say you're not a planner, and you prefer not to go out there without any plans in your journeys and travels, but how does that work? What is the behind the scene scenario? How do you start a travel like that and a project like that?
We prepare a lot, and we do a lot in advance.
Okay.
Studies, well, that sounds perhaps a little bit strange. Exercises for everybody, for all of us, in perception, for instance. Exercises in the streets, just with a focus on listening, with a focus on observing, on watching, and then exchanging that, bringing that together, picking up, what did you see? I have not seen that. What did you hear? Oh, I missed that. And then we bring it together and have already a beginning of something. Just from go somewhere, open your senses, pick up something, share it, bring it together, and well, of course, I help them to make something out of that you can perform it.
I have a question. So we were able to share today and see your work, and that was thanks to the footage you brought with us. How do you preserve or approach creating that footage so that it can be transmitted again, but preserve some of that sensory encounter so it doesn't become purely visual? How do you approach making a record that is a testament to the intercultural nature of that experience that took place?
That it is not only visual.
Yes.
So therefore, for instance, we keep on a regular, we keep the diaries where, and a few examples you could share. We write down both facts, experiences, but also deep emotions, unanswered questions. And today that I couldn't show everything, big conflicts, because there happened things because of misunderstanding. Julia, for instance, well, the hour was already long, but she had very big problems because she has created an idea that did somehow not work and was misunderstood. But of course, wonderful examples to learn, and to go back and speak about that. Why did you misunderstand me? Please listen, I would like to explain to you what I really wanted. Aha, well, I did not guess that. Why? Because they have a completely different view of the world, view of the beings in the world, view of the rules of behaving between males and females, and of course that causes or can cause misunderstandings. So we don't avoid the conflicts, we take them as I would say as a fact to read about that. We have different texts. I try to connect the texts with the questions of the people. If somebody asks me about that, what you are asking, we read about, for instance, we had some theories on Gestalt. I don't know
that term.
Yeah, that is a term taken from psychology, a special concept that is, for me, one of the most integrative concepts, the Gestalt concept. So reading, it can be like an additional opinion. A book for me is a book. 6 person now in this round with 5 persons. It's a 6 persons who can cause that I say, aha, I didn't think about that aspect, and then it comes into the round. We discuss it. The one can take it, the other cannot take it, but it is somehow among us. And so by and by, for instance, the exercise, the sensitization exercise with keep your eyes closed and admit that somebody leads you around the campus.
Can be really scary.
That was for them, oh, I cannot tell you. A lot of exchange concerning a woman does not do that with a man. That's the first thing. A young woman does not do that with a young man. That was very strange for them, very strange. And of course, there comes up a lot.
So, like yesterday, you mentioned about the intercultural exchange, which is this really interesting when you say that giving and taking. So that's why I want to ask you, when you went to Manado, is it an intercultural exchange? Because, for example, like in Mumbai, I believe intercultural exchange is like two ways. So you're giving something and then you're taking something. This is a two ways. How about in Manado? Because I just saw that they giving you something, and then did you give something also to them? It's like two ways.
Interesting question.
Yeah.
Well, it's always an attempt. I tried. I gave them the experiences that are, for any kind of artist, I think, very essential.
Yeah.
And that is what I tried to mention during the lecture, to make the experience that nothing that we use, nothing that we have learned, nothing is fixed. It is always a dynamic thing that can change, that can possibly change. So, and we worked on this idea, this openness. Keep yourself open. Singing, of course, can have one position, one form, row by row, one behind the other, standing and singing repertoire. That is one way of singing in the world. One way. And so I tried what I gave them. We did, the first task was, we keep your repertoire, we only change the locations. That was one day. We changed locations. We went into a bathroom. It was so funny. It was so funny. I let the people sing in a what is a barbershop chair?
No one knows what
Because it was just a part of the location. I took what was around them. I took everything from the environment, but their songs stayed their songs. So that is already a big thing. Singing beneath a table, your song and yourself will change. If you sing a song and are used to audience, and now you are asked to sing beneath a table and a cloth is hanging down, what happens with you? So that's what I try to give them. I think these experiences, they are still ongoing in their minds, in their souls, and we write each other very intensively. I think there is going on a lot, and there has started a lot.
Hi, dear Professor Vent. Yes, we very much enjoy your lectures, and I think my feelings is during your implementation or experimental. Yes, very interesting examples. I think you might probably found some problems, but at the same time, have you trying to explore the significance or meanings, or have you ever explored the meaning of this your experimental? I mean,
explored the meaning of our experiments.
Yeah, or your project, the meaning or significance.
Yeah.
It's interesting, it's funny. I want to know, and there must be something behind it. Or have you found it? I mean,
well,
and in a trial, in normal level, okay, we interact each other. And how about the higher level? As have you found some, meaningful things? When you're doing such experimental.
So. The examples that I showed you today, nearly all of them, besides the first example, they were professionals with a trombone and a sax and so. But I decided to show you examples from initial phases. How do we start? How do we go on? And I left everything at home, what has to do with the performance. We have a lot of performance-oriented films, a lot of DVDs, but that's again a showing. I wanted to give you an insight into the process-oriented work. But I would like to come back to your question concerning significance.
I think there must be some. I mean,
the first is you and me. The first thing is, I would say, work on our self. An extra word. You work on your self, I work on myself, and what we call find an identity does not exist. The identity does not exist, but the work has a lot to do with that, because if you get a task to, for instance, to be occupied with the phenomenon of water, your result of working with water will be completely different, for instance, compared with the result from Betsy or from Camilla. So behind that is, it sounds so very simple. We all are very, very different. And there is not the dealing with something, there is not the dealing with a behavior or with a social rule or with a written something or whatever. There is not the thing that is equal for everybody in the world. When you ask for significance of something,
I think
it does not exist.
No, I mean there must be many. Meanings.
Yeah.
But I want to know. I mean, there must be many meanings, and everybody can explore and can find it. And I think the meaning that's, the way we're trying to find meanings is meaningless. And I'm so, impressed. And yes, I'm for it. Yes, I'm not. Against it.
Yeah, no, to find yourself a meaning concerning water.
Okay.
To find myself another meaning concerning water.
Yeah, that's interesting.
If somebody in the desert begins to deal with water, it's for a desert man or a woman, something so different compared to us in a European culture where we have water at any corner.
I think that's the meanings of your...
And to not only to accept that, to get to learn that, and to integrate that in our consciousness.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that is a big thing.
Yes.
That's for me a part of what we call meaning. To broaden, to widen our consciousness concerning the uncountable, numerous phenomena and meanings and significance in the world. But nobody can fix them.
Yes, indeed. That's why I was wondering, and I want to ask you. But still, yes, that's the meaning. That's the meanings and significance of the process.
And it reaches from a simple sound, a simple movement, up to a term like cultural diplomacy. It does, as such, it does not exist. You are the one, and I am the one, or we are in a group the ones who give a thing or a phenomenon or a tool, whatever it is, a meaning by doing.
And perhaps it's all very, very personal as well as we share experiences. But I'm afraid that our time is up. I have a whole book of questions and comments to make to you, but thank you very much for participating in this discussion and for giving us that wonderful lecture. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I thank you.